if you want to move forward, if you want to move up, if you want to be recognized, I think just in general, you have to understand like, hey, I do this, and then this is what it creates or affects or contributes to.
Matt, how's your energy today, man?
Slow.
It's slow, huh?
It's slow.
I'm glad you clapped really loud before we started this.
Yeah.
Okay, so saw this post that you reacted to on LinkedIn from a lady named Alexandra at Pixels.
Yeah.
And basically the hook point was, is event marketing a dead-end job? What do you think about that? Why would she get so much reaction to that post?
So I think it's a good hook point, right? For sure. Like, because if you're an event marketer, it gives a little scarcity. You think right away. I think more the point that she's trying to get to, and it's a very good point, is the fact that events sit in this very weird part of the organization, right? It is under marketing, but it kind of brings this high level question that I wrote and asked. I says, who owns strategy and results of events? Because you find, as someone who works in events, and I know she does as well, they don't really get a seat at the table, right? They don't get a seat in the high level discussions. They're more, they execute, they plan, they coordinate. So I think it's just an overall good thought, because I think where she's coming from is essentially that you go do events, you hit a certain point at the company where you're running the events, and then where do you go next?
Yeah.
Right? Like, where after that? And then I also think a lot of people are sitting waiting, not on the chopping block. It's a needed job. They do, I know so many good event marketers that do such a good job with the planning and the coordinating, the executing, and they want to do more, but it's like they just get stuck, right? And then when the company struggles, or there's a downturn in the market, or anything in that space, struggling, bad turn market, things are going wrong, it's one of the first places that they look to cut, And I think if it had a little bit more sales and marketing-ish channel vibe, if it was run more with strategy and result driven, it may not, right? Yeah. And I think that's kind of where it needs to go, which is what my point was.
Yeah, that makes sense. So let's
Keyboard warrior wrote.
Yeah, you got real heated there. No, I thought it was a good back and forth with her, actually. Let's talk a little bit about just kind of like where it goes, where the event marketer should be in the org chart.
Yeah.
What is the likely career path that an event marketer should really be thinking about?
Yeah.
And then I'd also just kind of hit on this like stuckness part of it, right? Yeah. But like let's start with where should it be on the org chart? If I'm hearing you correctly, you think events should sit in marketing.
Yes, 100%.
100%.
Yeah, so events should sit under marketing. Marketing owns pipeline. Events are a catalyst for pipeline, right? So 100%. They should sit under marketing. And I think, look, it's tough to discuss with large organizations. They're all structured differently. Yeah. They're matrix. They have different divisions, right? There's a lot of places that are, like we have clients of ours where the event person doesn't answer to, but has to work with like 7 different people from 7 different divisions and kind of field things for them, right? So there's a lot of complexities. But I think the biggest key point and what you're asking is essentially you're an event marketer, you come in, event planner, event coordinator, event manager, whatever you want to call it. You come in, you should be learning the basics, right? You should be, whether it's a CTSM program or whether it's just learning how to coordinate, plan, and execute events. Yep. But at some point in time, that next level, which is available at companies, does become being a director of events, a senior event person, head of global events. There's a lot of different titles. Yeah. That's when you're typically managing a team of 1, 2, or 3. You're running a larger portfolio of events, but those people typically get a little bit into measurement. They get a little bit into trying to prove their case. They have a little bit more juice at the company, which is amazing, but they're still not getting a seat at the table. Those people are typically still not getting a seat. They are saying, hey, how are these events contributing to go to market? How are they contributing to this initiative? And they're kind of having to piecemeal their way through it.
Yeah, it makes sense. So if I'm hearing you correctly, then event being under marketing to me means, and this like track that you lay out, to me means that if I'm an event marketer and I'm coming into an organization, I need to get with the marketing team and just like kind of understand what's the overall story we're telling. Like what are the things that we talk about in marketing? That's the narrative that we're trying to build people in. And I'm trying to talk to the salespeople and ask them, hey, from the story, what then kind of like converts? What are the things that you do that convert so that event person can kind of like be the mix of that in real life, right? Like, is that kind of like the approach?
Yeah, I think it's hard based on org by org, right? It really is, and I hate saying that. There's no silver bullet. Every organization is different. The smaller the organization, typically the more control they have, the more access they have to a VP of sales, a VP of marketing, executives, leadership, CEOs. The smaller the org, the more access you have, and it's easier to create alignment. The larger the org, the more difficult it is, the more layers, the more matrix it is, the more complexities there are. One of the points I made a while back that I think is key is like, I think if I was running a larger organization and I was thinking about my event sales and marketing channel, like, and I had an event planner, event coordinator, event manager kind of running things, I would really tie some form of VP of marketing and VP of sales to it. You know, like if you don't have the person that can strategically own the event, but they can execute it, and they can't strategically own the results, but they can coordinate, plan, and execute, fine. No big deal. You can bring that person up. A lot of people that we've met that want to do that, that are event managers. But it's the importance I find just from working with a lot of companies, the sales leader that should be involved is not. And the marketing leader that should be involved is not. And the event is just left to sort of go. The event is sort of like, oh, it'll go on, it'll go through. We just need to make sure these key pieces are there. But where is the discussion about, the portfolio planning, the events, the audiences? How are we engaging them? Are we driving results? Like, who's owning that? And I think just attaching VP of sales, VP of marketing, or some form of that layer to a good event person can really do a company wonders.
Yeah, that makes sense. So that's kind of like where it fits in the org chart. Is what you're saying is like you're attaching the VP of sales, VP of marketing as the leader, the mentor of the event marketer so that they can get a full formation. Does that mean that as an event marketer, my goal in the organization, if I'm looking 10 years out, if my goal is that I become a VP of sales, a VP of marketing, are there other places that they can ascend to that you can think about? Like I hear ABM a lot, I hear field marketing a lot. That seems like a stepping stone into one of those.
My thought for the event people is you have to get your business savvy up as much as you can.
Yeah.
You need to understand the full picture. Don't just be executing the event. Understand, how does this event propel, drive pipeline, company initiatives, like who's the audience, right? Like there's a difference between an engineer, a senior level engineer, and a senior level HR person. They're different humans, like they're just different people for the most part. So, are we catering what we're doing based on those things? Like more business thought as to like, okay, we're running this event. Okay, the event's the event, fine. We'll plan it, we'll do it. But what does this mean for the organization? How does it contribute to the organization? I think when that person starts thinking that way and asking those questions and wanting to be involved and taking the initiative, look, if it doesn't get recognized, if it gets pushed back down at you, you're probably at the wrong organization. But if I think a lot of times though, people recognize like, oh damn, this person's talented, they're smart, they're asking things that we need. I mean, that would be my advice.
Yeah, that makes sense. So then if you're getting recognized by that person, they're going to be plucking you up more and more into leadership roles within that kind of like org. I almost feel like as an events marketer, you have an advantage of being noticed. Like you touch so many parts of the ecosystem, and your job is to make people look good. And if you make people look good, they promote you, right? So I could see an event person moving up even in ops. You could become like an operational person, and if that's what you like, if you like the organizational piece, you can likely kind of like get known that way. If you like the sales piece, you get known that way. At the end of the day, it's just like people management, logistics, and understanding the moving components and how it all fits into the business. Is there a reason why an events person should put a cap on where they can grow in an organization if they're in the right organization?
I don't know. That's tough to tell, right? Like every org is different, but I would just say as a business owner myself and having employees myself, I would say that the more that the individual sees the bigger picture, right, with what their job contributes to and produces. Yes, you need people that are workers and execute and do a set thing. If you want to move forward, if you want to move up, if you want to be recognized, I think just in general, you have to understand like, hey, I do this, and then this is what it creates or affects or contributes to, right? Because that will then lead you to ideas and ways of doing it better. Like, hey, why am I doing it this way? I'd probably be doing it this way. Or like, hey, if I did this, would this help you? The person might be like, oh my God, yeah. Like that would definitely help me. And then I think from there, you're in the weeds doing the work. Sometimes people in the weeds doing the work can solve the problems best. If they can step out to think about it, right? It's difficult, but I think that's just very general advice.
Yeah, so the general advice is then, so if we're going to go back to like you're stuck, advice number one is like, get out of the weeds, look at the bigger picture, be connecting dots. The more that you're seen as a dot connector and driving business results, the less stuck and the more valuable you'll become, right? So like even if like budget season hits and like events goes away, but you're still seen as somebody that like has all these like pieces, you're more valuable. I guess in the short term, it's also just like seeing it as a sales and marketing channel is less likely to get stuck, right? Like is there...
Like just listening to you talk has me thinking. Like I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, so I also think one of the moves people can make is like you can go to different companies. Like not all companies are created equal in what they're doing.
Yeah.
If you're doing a good job, if you're driving ROI, if you have the business aspect figured out, if you're thinking about events from a different approach and you're doing well, I think that starts to build your resume. I think that changes when you're working at this company and then maybe a much bigger company, you know, you're going from $100 million company to maybe $1 billion company that's looking for an event person. You go in, you interview and you're like, hey, this is what I did. I created this scorecard. I tracked this. We measure that. We're contributing this much pipeline. They're like, whoa. I mean, we don't even have someone that does this. You never know, right? True. So like that skill set grows and not all companies are created equal or on the same mission. Some companies are more invested in events. Others are less invested in events. I think it's just skill set. So you don't know where you can go, right? Like not all event jobs are created equal across the company.
And again, it's so visible. If you punch above your weight class at a conference, all of the competitors are going to know, and they're going to be like, who put that on?
Yeah.
And if like, you know, the marketing incumbent is sucking shit at their events, like they're going to be like, dude, go talk to this person.
If people know when execution is done right, you can feel it, you can see it, right? You know, let's just say it's a booth and you're on the show floor. It's the presence, it's the pre-show marketing that bring the action. It's the engagement that you're creating, the giveaways, the raffles that you're doing, the dinners that you're hosting, you know, the guerrilla marketing style type things that you're doing, whether, you know what I mean? There's an array of things, but like people can see and feel that execution. Yeah. You know, they know like someone's behind this. Like who's behind this? Who's creating this? Yeah. And you know, because when you walk show floor, there's some companies, there's no one in their booth, they have no engagement going on, it's flat. Yeah. And then there's some companies that you're like, damn, look at what they're, like there's just, there's energy, there's buzz, there's people, there's engagement. Like, you know they're doing something. You know they're moving and shaking. Yeah.
So lesson is, event marketing does not have to be a dead-end job.
It's definitely not a dead-end job.
If you're looking at the big picture and you understand that you're there to drive business results, you have plenty of opportunities to be seen, not just within your company because you touch all these departments, but outside your company. So you technically should never get stuck if you are doing the work and getting it done.
Multiple avenues that we've kind of clarified here.
Yeah.
Like one is if you're in a company and they're not great, it's not a great event program, make it great.
Yeah.
Talk it up the ladder, right? Talk about measurement. Talk about performance, talk about contributing to pipeline. If you're at an organization and you're talking about contributing to pipeline, contributing to company initiatives, helping sales with leads, deal accelerating, building referral sources at events, making them work, and someone's not listening to you, I mean, get the fuck out of there fast. Because if I was a VP of sales and I had an event person that was like, hey, you know, I'd be like, yeah, let's go. Okay, like we haven't had success. What are you thinking? How can I help? What do you need me to do? Right? And then I give you my take. So that's one. Is A, if you're there, build it. See if you can build it, right? Two, I think is always just this concept that you can go to a better company. But if you haven't done the work, if you're not great at what you do, if like when you get there, or even if you're just gifted an opportunity, you're not really going to be ready for it. Yeah. Right? There's always another company to go to. There's always bigger opportunities out there. And then three, like we were talking about, I mean, at the event, when you run it right, when you execute right, you know, it does get noticed. It will get noticed within your industry. And I think the other thing I do think about is like, I've talked to some very smart senior level, director level, head of global event style people. Some of them, I think, and this is just my assumption, at some point in time will be moved into another role at the company, under marketing. They're like, okay, I'm in events, I'm executing the event, I have the ideas for the events, but I'm driving pipeline. I'm working with sales to follow up on that pipeline. I understand the campaigns via marketing. Like you're now a business, sales, and marketing person. And when you make shit move and you make stuff happen, they're like, well, could you do that over here? Because you understand the big picture. You're not just executing the event. Like you get the picture of what we're trying to do, which is pipeline, customer engagement, initiatives, deal acceleration, referrals, merger and acquisition. Like you get the wheel that moves this place. So I think there's a lot of room.
Okay. You're listening right now. Sky's the limit. You're not stuck. It's not a dead end job.
A lot of room for growth.
Go get it.